And to other news now, advocates are calling for an independent review of police conduct. And this comes after a string of arrests were made during a pro-Palestinian demonstration this weekend. Let's bring in our Faiza Amin, who is right outside of Toronto Police Headquarters. Just wrapping up, as we heard here on CityNews 24/7, Faiza, a news conference, a lot of people speaking out.
Melanie, and the organizers say that they don't want police to carry out this investigation. They want an independent body to review the police response, which they say was violent and was brutal against protesters who were being peaceful. Take a look here behind me at some of the folks who were in attendance here today. The organizers, Palestinian Youth Movement and Toronto for Palestine. This was a protest that was also endorsed by the Jews Say No to Genocide Coalition and many other organizations. They say together that there was a dramatic escalation of violence and brutality against pro-Palestinian demonstrators. Toronto police, though, saying that their response was necessary and appropriate. They've been citing safety for themselves as well as for the public. But video has emerged on social media as well, shared by the organizations here who that shows police on horses as well as police on bikes attending the protests. And they say that the issues began to escalate when they got into the area of Gerrard and Parliament here. So police saying that they've charged 3 people. A man is facing charges under the Highway Traffic Act for operating a truck with occupants in the bed of the truck while it was in motion. Protesters say this was a sudden and selective use of enforcement, and the truck was driven at the speed of a parade float. 2 other women are also facing assault charges, one who police allege threw horse manure at officers, and a 3rd person who they allege intentionally used a flagpole to spear at an officer. But protesters are saying that they've been targeted by police more and more over the last few months, and since October, since they've been carrying out these protests and demonstrating in Toronto. They say that they have been met with violence and aggression themselves. Toronto police releasing a statement over the weekend saying in part, quote, protesters became physically aggressive towards officers when police lawfully executed an arrest, adding that police employed appropriate and necessary force to preserve public and officer safety, and they were faced with violence and aggression. Here's more from the press conference.
We are here today reaffirming our calls to defund the police, because the police do not keep us safe, we keep each other safe. We are also calling for an independent civilian investigation of what took place.
I want to unequivocally stress that we were marching without provocation, peacefully. There was elderly people with us, there were children. Nobody was doing anything but marching and having their voices be heard. Ultimately, during all of the pushing and pulling by the police, they left us with nowhere to go, and I was grabbed by my head, pushed over the police line, forcibly thrown to the ground, and I just felt several bodies on top of me.
What happened on Saturday was not a one-off event, but an escalation that is entirely consistent with the state and the TPS over the last 6 months. We understand the Canadian state to be complicit in this genocide.
And the Police Association also releasing a statement on X saying, quote, when protesters choose to commit criminal acts, they will be arrested either immediately or later. When protesters block roads and infrastructure, that impacts our ability to respond to emergency calls. The MPP for Toronto Centre, Kristen Wong-Tam, is calling for Toronto Police to release a detailed account of their actions. The official opposition critic for the Attorney General adding, quote, both local residents and march participants were intimidated by the swift escalation initiated by law enforcement, resulting in some individuals being forcefully pushed to the ground. I'm informed that the police reportedly issued no audible or repeated warnings to the group of marchers or bystanders before these altercations and subsequent arrests made. And so back here in front of Toronto Police Headquarters, Melanie, this is where the press conference happened with a number of organizations present, as well as the number of protesters who were also in attendance speaking here with media. So they're calling for this investigation. They want this investigation to focus on the police response, particularly on Saturday.
All right, our Faiza Amin reporting live. Thank you so much for this, Faiza. Of course, this is an evolving story, so we'll continue to follow here on City News 24/7 as well at City News at 5 and 6. Appreciate your time.